Hey, church, today we are taking a quick look at commandment number 8 out of the 10. In English, it's pretty simple. It says, "You shall not steal." In Hebrew, it's actually only two words. It says, "No stealing." That's about it. That's the whole verse. Um, that's the whole command. No stealing. Now, this one obviously does not need a lot of explanation. Um, Most of us understand what stealing means. It means taking from somebody else that what doesn't belong to you for yourself, right? And there's a number of circumstances where this happens, or where we might be tempted with this. Um, I would guess for most of us that this may not be the biggest thing that we struggle with of all the Ten Commandments. However, I want to emphasize what this commandment is really all about, because it's really easy to say, well, I don't steal, Travis. It's not like I go to the store and I'm just yoinking stuff, or I go into Woolies and I'm scanning my items in the little self checkout and I just skip a few and sneak them into the bag. Maybe you do that, and maybe this verse needs to speak directly to your heart. Or perhaps maybe what you're stealing isn't as obvious, and is more sort of something that people do, and it's what everybody does. For example, stealing music and movies from the internet that you haven't rented or paid for in any sort of way. Again, this is a thing that we should be challenged to think about. That even if everybody in the world thinks that this is an acceptable thing to do, to download movies for free without paying for them, and there's nuances in the legalities of that, and so people can explain it away, is that really what we should be doing? Probably not. That would violate this commandment. However, again, I think many of us don't necessarily struggle with this idea of stealing. Maybe we struggle more so with the idea of being jealous of what other people have, and greed. But what is really behind this, and that as well, is the idea that as followers of Jesus, we are not meant to be people that are constantly taking, taking, taking. In fact, we are meant to be people who do the opposite, who give, give, give. When you read the Bible and you read the character of who God is, and as you explore who Jesus is, you never really see them taking anything. God's not taking stuff from people. He's not stealing stuff. You don't see Jesus doing that really either. He's not going around and he just takes stuff, takes stuff, takes stuff. But in fact, God is a God who is incredibly generous. God lavishes his love upon us. God provides us constantly with blessing and promise and so many good things. Jesus does the same, right? And in those instances where you look and we're like, well, Jesus took that little kid's fish and loaves of bread, right? He took them from the kid. You might want to argue that. However, what does Jesus do with those things? He multiplies them, right? And then he freely distributes all of this food to everyone who's in the crowd that day, including the kid who provided it. And there's all of these leftovers. So I would like to think, even though this is not in the text, that this kid actually went home with more than what he brought. Because this is the character and nature of who God and Jesus are. They are givers, not takers. And so, when it comes to this, even though you or I may not be people that inherently wrestle with stealing, we're not stealing cars or whatever necessarily all the time. However, I think the challenge is still there. But are we people that want to take? That we're constantly looking for more, to have more, to obtain more, to be jealous for more, to be greedy for more? Or are we doing the opposite, which is what this command is really ought to reflect? That we are modeling the character of Jesus, that we are seeking to give, 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 give. In every circumstance, we're giving and giving and giving because this is what God is like. So my challenge for us today is, first of all, if this is something that you actually struggle with, whether it's taking stuff from the store or hijacking cars or stealing stuff from the internet or whatever it may be, maybe you need to hear this hard word that this is a clear command from God. It's one of the most top 10 important things that God wants you to know of what it means to obey Him. Do not take what does not belong to you. Don't steal. Stop. Get some help if that's a problem that you have. But more importantly, and secondly, I think that we ought to reflect on the fact that God is not a taker. He is a giver. And as His people, we ought to give as well. So today, in what ways can you go about your day saying, how can I give to someone today? Rather than thinking about what you need to take or what you need to obtain or what you wish you had more of, how can you give today? May that be a challenge for you and me. See you later.